The waiter had just refilled our champagne glasses when my wife of 58 years looked across the table at Giovanni's restaurant in downtown Portland and said the words that ended my life as I knew it. "Walter, there's something I need to tell you." It was September 14th, 2018, our 58th wedding anniversary. I thought she was going to reminisce about how young we were, how fast the decades had flown. I was smiling. I was reaching for her hand. And then she said, "I'm leaving you. I've been in love with Dennis for the last 11 years, and I can't do this anymore." Dennis Carmichael, my best friend since Korea in 1952, the godfather to our daughter, the man who ate dinner at our table every Sunday for 4 decades, the man I called my brother. That's the Dennis I'm talking about. I am Walter James Brennan. I am 97 years old now. I live alone in the house my wife and I bought in 1963 in Lake Oswego, Oregon. And I am here to tell you that you can spend nearly 6 decades building a life with someone and discover in a single moment that you have been living in a carefully constructed illusion the entire time. Before you think this is about an evil woman or a terrible friend, let me be clear. This is about me. This is about what I missed. This is about how a man can be so comfortable that he stops actually looking at his life. Because here's what I learned too late. Loyalty and love are not the same thing. Just because someone stays does not mean they want to be there. What I learned after 58 years of marriage is this. Comfort can be the most dangerous drug there is, because it makes you blind to the fact that the person sleeping next to you stopped choosing you years ago. You probably think your marriage is solid. You probably tell yourself that you know your spouse, that you would see the signs if something was wrong. You probably think that after decades together you have earned the right to stop paying attention. The moment you stop paying attention is the moment you lose everything, and you will not even know it is happening. My wife's name was Helen Louise Brennan, though she goes by Helen Carmichael now. We met in 1959 at a church dance in Seattle. I was 31, working as a draftsman for Boeing. She was 28, a school teacher with dark hair and a laugh that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We married in 1960. 2 children, Linda in 1961 and Paul in 1964. Dennis came into our lives in 1968. Divorced, no kids, looking for a fresh start in Portland. We met at a veterans event, both of us Marines in Korea. By the end of that night, I knew I had found a brother. For 40 years, Dennis was family. Every birthday, every Christmas, every 4th of July barbecue. When Linda got married in 1984, Dennis walked her down the aisle with me. When Paul was going through his divorce in 2003, Dennis sat with him every night. The first change I missed was in 2007. Helen started dressing differently, wearing perfume again, going to the gym 3 times a week. When I mentioned it, she said she just wanted to feel healthy. I believed her. The second change was her phone. Starting around 2008, she always had it with her, in her purse, in her pocket, on the bathroom counter. She put a passcode on it. When I asked why, she said our grandson had been getting into it. It seemed reasonable. The third change was Sunday dinners. For 40 years, Dennis came to our house at 5 p.m., but around 2009, Helen started suggesting we go out instead. Dennis would meet us at the restaurant. At the time, I thought Helen was just tired of cooking. I was a fool. You may be thinking these were obvious signs. that any man paying attention would have seen what was happening, and you would be right. But here is what nobody tells you about being in a decades-long marriage. You stop looking for problems because you assume there are not any. You stop questioning because you assume you already know all the answers. Every single man who has been blindsided by betrayal told himself the same thing. Not my wife. Not my best friend. Not us. We were all wrong. I sat there in that restaurant with champagne in my hand and said, "What? What are you talking about?" Helen's face was calm. That is what I remember most. She said, "Walter, Dennis and I have been seeing each other for 11 years. It started in 2007. We tried to stop, but we couldn't. We're in love. I'm moving in with him next week. The papers are already drawn up. He'll be served on Monday." I could not breathe. The restaurant was full of people celebrating, and I was sitting there watching my entire life disintegrate. I said, "Dennis? My Dennis?" She nodded. "I'm sorry, Walter. I know this is hard, but I can't pretend anymore." I do not remember leaving the restaurant. The next thing I remember is standing in our living room at 10 p.m., staring at the photo on the mantel of the three of us at Linda's wedding. We were all smiling. We looked like family. It was all a lie. The next morning I called Dennis. He answered on the second ring. I said, "Is it true?" Long silence. Then, "Yeah, Walt, it's true. I'm sorry, buddy. I never meant for this to happen." "How long?" 11 years, since 2007. "Why?" And Dennis said, "I don't know, Walt. It just happened. Helen and I, we connected, and it grew into something we couldn't stop. I'm sorry." Then he hung up. I've not spoken to him since. Here is what nobody tells you about losing your wife and your best friend on the same night. It is not just the loss of two people. It is the loss of your entire reality. Every memory was suddenly suspect. Every Sunday dinner, every Christmas morning, every vacation where Dennis came along. Had they been together during all of those moments? Had they been lying to my face for 11 years while I smiled and thought everything was fine? Our daughter Linda was 57 when it happened. She said, "Dad, I had no idea." She stopped calling Dennis uncle after that. Our son Paul was 54. He was angry. But even as he expressed his outrage, I could see him doing the math, trying to figure out if his mother had been with Dennis during his own divorce, during the nights Dennis was supposedly helping him. The betrayal poisoned everything. Helen moved out the following week. She took her clothes, her books, some furniture. She left behind 58 years of our life together. The photo albums, the vacation souvenirs, the coffee mugs we bought at the Grand Canyon in 1987. I would wake up in the morning and reach for her out of habit. My hand would find cold, empty sheets. For just a moment I would forget. Then I would remember. And the pain would hit me all over again. Betrayal at this level is not just about the affair. It is about the realization that the person you trusted most was capable of looking you in the eye every single day for 11 years and lying. It is about realizing you were so blind, so comfortable, so sure of your life that you missed it completely. After she left, I went through everything. I found receipts from restaurants I had never been to, a credit card statement with charges to a hotel in Salem from 2012, when Helen told me she was visiting her sister, a Valentine's Day card in her nightstand from 2015, signed D with a heart. All of it had been right there. I just had not been looking. Here's what I learned. The comfortable life you think you have might be the very thing destroying you without your knowledge. I got comfortable. I stopped paying attention to my wife. I stopped asking if she was happy. I stopped noticing when she changed. I assumed that because we had been married for so long, because we had children and grandchildren and history, that we were solid. I assumed wrong. A man I met at a divorce support group in 2019, Frank Patterson, was 78. His wife left him after 49 years for a man she met at a painting class. Frank said, "I thought marriage was a destination. You get married, have kids, retire, and that's it. You made it. But marriage isn't a destination. It's a garden. And if you stop tending it, it dies. I stopped tending mine 30 years ago, and I didn't even notice it was dead until she left. That is what I did. I stopped tending my marriage because I thought we had already made it." I am 97 years old. Helen is 93. She is still with Dennis, who is 96. They live in Beaverton, about 20 minutes from here. I see them sometimes at family events. Linda tries to keep us separated. Paul refuses to speak to either of them. I stayed in the house. At first I thought I would sell it, but then I realized this house is mine. This is where I raised my children. This is my history, not theirs. I started therapy in 2019 at 94 years old. My grandson convinced me. He said, "Grandpa, you can't carry this alone. It's going to kill you." He was right. Therapy taught me that I cannot change what happened. I cannot go back to 2007 and pay more attention. All I can do is decide what kind of man I want to be for whatever time I have left. I am 97 years old. I do not have much time left. Could be months. Could be a couple years. You probably think your marriage is fine. You probably think you would notice if something was wrong. You probably think you have earned the right to coast. Marriage requires attention every single day. Not grand gestures. Attention. Looking at your spouse and actually seeing them. Asking if they are happy. Noticing when they change. Making them feel like they are still the most important person in your life. Because if you do not, someone else will. You can decide right now to stop taking your marriage for granted. You can decide to have the hard conversations. You can decide to pay attention before it is too late. If I could go back to 1960, I would tell that 32-year-old man to never stop courting his wife. I would tell him that marriage is not something you achieve. It is something you tend every single day. I would tell him to keep his eyes open, to never assume he knows everything. But I cannot go back. All I have is right now. And what I know is that I survived something I never thought I would survive. I am still here. I am still breathing. I am still choosing to live every day, even though half the time it hurts like hell. If I can do that at 97 after losing everything in one night, then you can do whatever hard thing is in front of you. You can ask your spouse the questions you are afraid to ask. You can pay attention to the changes you have been ignoring. You can tend your marriage before someone else does it for you. Do not wait until it is too late like I did. Do not wake up on your 58th anniversary and discover that the life you thought you had was never real. Your marriage is either growing or it is dying. There is no maintenance mode. Choose to grow it. Choose to pay attention. Choose to stay awake. I have said what I needed to say. My coffee is cold, and I have a doctor's appointment at 11. If what I shared made you uncomfortable, if it made you think about your own marriage, leave a comment below. Tell me if you see yourself in my story. Tell me if you are going to ask the hard questions tonight. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is stop pretending everything is fine. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who has been coasting in their marriage for too long, share this with them. Sometimes we need a wake-up call before we lose what we did not realize we were losing. Before I go, let me leave you with this. Do not let comfort steal your life. Stay awake. Pay attention. Tend your garden. Because the alternative is waking up at 89 years old and realizing you were asleep for the last 20 of them. Be well.